Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Mehta, editor-in-chief of Fast Company. Mark Cuban and Kendra Scott are extremely well known as entrepreneurs, and many of you may know them as investors as well from their appearances on the television series Shark Tank. But both Mark and Kendra's investment activities and their commercial and philanthropic efforts extend well beyond what you see on television. And for both of them, Texas has a special place in their hearts. Welcome, Mark and Kendra.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Glad to be here.
Let me start with you, Mark. You've invested heavily in Texas, most visibly through your stewardship of the Dallas Mavericks, but you've also more quietly invested in a number of Texas-based companies. Talk a little bit about how you think about investing in these companies, and do you put a thumb on the scale for local businesses?
Absolutely. I mean, particularly in Dallas, it's there's so much less friction doing business here than Silicon Valley or other tech destinations. Put aside the tax element, you've got a great workforce, you've got a willing workforce that wants to work, people who like coming to the job every day. You've got, a young, vibrant, educated community. You've got universities. You've got, University of Texas at Dallas, which has the largest engineering school in the country. So, there's a strong development core there. There's, what's not to love about doing business in Dallas, Texas? The real estate is far cheaper. It's just, you got a better chance of making money when you're doing business in Dallas and Texas generally.
Kendra, you're not from Texas, but you are so closely identified with Texas and with Austin in particular. Share with us why Texas is so important to you. And in particular, maybe talk a little bit about the kinds of companies you look to invest in, particularly ones that are in your hometown.
Sure. Well, first of all, I wasn't born in Texas, but I moved here when I was 16. I started my company here and I had 3 sons born in Texas. So I think I almost could be honorary at this point. I like to say that I'm a Texan. I feel so fortunate that I started my business in Austin, Texas. I started going door to door with my jewelry in a tea box. And I said, if I had done that in San Francisco or New York, I would have probably been kicked out. They may have called security or the police on me. But in Texas, people are warm. They're loving. They like to support local business. And I think that was what, really shines through. You look at Austin now and you kind of see what's happening with this huge emergence coming from both coasts, coming into Texas, because it is a friendly state to do business in. We're thoughtful about wanting to really make this and cultivate it for a place for entrepreneurship. And here, when I started in Texas as a fashion company, I remember when I did my first shows 18 years ago, people said, well, you have to be on the coast to be in fashion. They were wrong. Here we are, one of the most successful jewelry brands in the world. Out of the state of Texas. And it truly is, I believe, this city gave me the wings to fly. And so being able to now share that success with other entrepreneurs is really exciting. I'm investing in a lot of exciting brands that are doing innovative things. And again, this is a breeding ground. Entrepreneurs love to help each other here in the state of Texas. Austin is known for having the University of Texas. Obviously, we're the state capital. It's a very diverse culture of people with a lot of creativity. And it's an exciting place to start a business. So I'm involved in so many different companies. One is Tiff's Treats, where they deliver warm cookies to your door. They're in this great fast growth trajectory, but they're also doing a lot of good things for their community. And I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, I look for those things, and seeing entrepreneurs that are doing something exciting and new, but also really making an impact on their community in a really impressive way has been something I'm so happy that I can be a part of.
Kendra, what are some of the network effects that you've seen in Austin in particular, as Austin has really grown as an entrepreneurial community, not just for the tech sector, but for luxury and lifestyle brands? How do you see the entrepreneurs in Austin sort of supporting each other, and how are they able to, sort of create an ecosystem that benefits all?
I think it's really amazing. There's groups like Capital Factory, obviously Entrepreneurs Organization, and others that really connect founders, young entrepreneurs with seasoned entrepreneurs. And what I love so much is I feel like in this state, we know something that's very critical. We know that we're competing against the world. So why not join forces? Why not help each other? Why not share ideas or best practices with one another so that we can be successful together? And that mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset of really being able to encourage and help grow other businesses in our state, I think is something that's very unique to Texas, to Austin, to Dallas, to Houston, to, all the major cities. I can literally pick up the phone and probably talk to anybody in the state of Texas and say, hey, do you know somebody about this, entrepreneur for this? I remember, meeting Charlotte with the Dallas Cowboys, Charlotte Jones, and being so afraid that she wouldn't want to meet with me and talk to me. And she couldn't wait to lend an ear and give me advice on different things that I was going through in my business. So I think that's the spirit of Texas and why it is such a great place to start a business.
Mark, you have a really robust portfolio of companies that you invest in, that you support. Are there ways that you try to bring your Texas investments together to do some of the things that Kendra just referred to, share best practices, give each other tips, maybe even help hire people who are looking for a new adventure or to shift industries?
Yeah, no question about it, Stephanie. I mean, we really try to leverage the skill set, and being the holding company or being an investor in more than 250 different companies, we're able to hire such great talent here in Texas. And based here out of Dallas, we bring every possible skill set to as many of those companies as needed. And, to Kendra's point, no one is shy in the state of Texas. Everybody seems to be your best friend, unless they're, your direct competitor. Whether it's Leon at Tiff's Treats or whether it's Charlotte Jones Anderson at the Cowboys, we're always sharing ideas. And Dallas is such a great community to get expertise, and it allows us to show some of my companies in other cities that, look, we've got that expertise here. And, several times we've had companies move here to Dallas.
Yeah. Mark, I know there's a lot of interest right now in apps that are facilitating sort of live conversation and audio in particular. I know Clubhouse is on fire right now. You've confirmed that you're co-founding Fireside, which is a chat app that aims to drive social impact through meaningful conversations at scale. Can you just share a little bit about what you're trying to build with Fireside and sort of what the white space is that it fills?
Yeah, I mean, Clubhouse is a great application, but it's more ephemeral, right? You go there, you talk, and it's gone. It's more like hanging out after a keynote at a conference and everybody's just chit-chatting with each other. Whereas with Fireside, it's more podcasting 2.0, where we take the best of Clubhouse and the best of podcasting and pull them together. So everything's recorded, it's transcribed. We have monetization opportunities for the podcaster, from tips to other types of opportunities from the participants. It's a very controlled environment, where with Clubhouse, even though initially it was kind of elite, if you will, now pretty much everybody comes in. And like every social media, when you get that network effect and it grows too big, you get people who are out there for their own interest as opposed to participating to make the conversation better. With Fireside Chat, the podcaster, the MC is in charge of everything. They completely control the invitation list, and people have to be vetted before we'll allow them to have a chat. And so there's just so much more control, because we really want, we want the quality, we want the information to have quality. We want the interface and the interactivity to have quality. And to us, that's more important than just seeing how many people we can reach.
I wanted to ask both of you to talk a little bit about philanthropy, because you both have really robust philanthropic arms and are engaged in a lot of philanthropic activities. There are so many big problems in the world. Kendra, when do you think about using enterprise and entrepreneurship to solve a big societal problem versus philanthropy and grant making and charitable contributions? Because you do have a number of companies in your portfolio that certainly are trying to change the world, but through a for-profit model rather than a not-for-profit model. I'd love to talk a little bit about investing in local philanthropy as well as local businesses.
For me, business and philanthropy kind of went hand in hand. When I started Kendra Scott, I had lost my stepfather to brain cancer. I really just felt like I wanted to do what I loved. I wanted to create a successful business. But I thought if I could garner more success, potentially I could be able to really make a bigger impact. In the early days, I didn't have a lot of money. And I think a lot of companies make that mistake to think that philanthropy only means writing a check. And it doesn't, right? We started out just lending our time. We would host Kendra Gives Back events for local charities. I could make a necklace or a pair of earrings for a local auction. And I decided very early on that I wanted to not just support big organizations, but that I saw how important it was some of the local charities and local cities that make so much of a big impact that are kind of sometimes left behind because they don't have the big branding or marketing behind them to support them. So for me, it was that balance of really being able to get into our local community and the needs that were there, but then creating ways that you could get your customers engaged in that conversation as well. A lot of times in the very beginning, I was told that you couldn't give as much that I was giving away, whether that was product or doing this 20% give back or more. And that was simply just wrong, because the connection that we made within our community was really the relationship with our customer was so much deeper, so much more real, right? Because we were going through things with them that were really amazing. As we've grown over the last 18 years, those little items, the silent auction items, started to grow to grants. Our Breast Cancer Research Foundation, we've been giving, $500,000 research grants. So now the idea for us is, as we've grown, we are able to kind of think of that BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal when I started is, could we run a business that can also change the world for the better, help the lives of women and children, and through education, empowerment, health, and wellness, and continuing to make that a priority for us and to our employees. I mean, they have become such a big part of their communities, and we have an outreach manager in every single area of the country who their sole job is to go out and find out where's the greatest need and how that we as a company can support that. And I think that's an important thing for any entrepreneur, is that really making a part of your core values. Great to have a great business, right? But people today, they want a brand. They want to be have something that they wear that means something more than just the great product. You have to have it all, right? You have to have beautiful product, great quality, great value. But I don't think that means that you also can't make a difference in the process. And I think that is such an important thing. And I think you can see the businesses that are having great success today are the ones that think of philanthropy not just as writing a check, but truly authentically showing up. And showing up in a great way. We're in 31 hospitals across the country with my Kendra Cares program, where our team goes in and helps pediatric patients, and they get to design a piece of jewelry for themselves or their nurse, their favorite nurse, or their mom that's been sitting beside their bedside day in and day out. When they get those moments in the hospital, when my employees get to touch and feel and see what we're doing as a company, they want to be with us forever. And so we have very low turnover because of that. So I think it's such an important thing for businesses to think about, and how they can do it uniquely, but again, authentically.
Mark, same kind of question for you. You have so many different outlets through which you engage in philanthropic activities, whether it's the Mavs Foundation, you've got a family foundation. When it comes to supporting North Texas and Dallas specifically, what lens do you look at those charitable contributions through? And again, when does it make sense to just write a check versus saying, can we start a business to solve this problem?
Yeah, a couple of things there, Stephanie. When it comes to Dallas in particular, I try to look at writing a check is to deal with an emergency. What's the right now that needs to be solved where people are challenged? We saw with the weather issues we have with people not having power, just devastation throughout Texas. And so that's something that I'm happy to write a check for. And myself and the Mavs, gave $1.25 million to the City of Dallas Emergency Fund. And then there's other times where you want to, start to attack longer term issues, like Kendra mentioned, attacking breast cancer. And I'll donate to a variety of organizations that I think can have long-term solutions. And then there's a time when you use commerce where you think that you can come up with a better solution. We started the Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drug Program, where we go out there and either license or manufacture. We're actually building a manufacturing plant in Deep Ellum in Dallas, and we either license or build, and we sell them at cost plus 15%, and everything's transparent. And we started with a drug called albendazole, which is to treat hookworm. And believe it or not, in West Texas in particular, in Alabama, where there's still horrible sanitation problems, kids in particular get hookworm, and the companies that were selling these things were selling them at $200 to $2,000 per dose. And, we gave away 10,000 doses to start, and we sell them for $12 to $20, depending on what our cost is to get there, plus 15%. And so trying to come up with solutions that solve problems and make life easier for people, those are kind of the three ways I look at things.
Right. In our small amount of time remaining, I want to ask each of you to provide a little bit of advice to the folks who are listening who may not have the benefit of being a Texas-based business. How do entrepreneurs find their Mark Cubans or Kendra Scotts? How do they find investors who are willing to invest in them, in part because they share a local connection? Mark, I'll start with you, and then Kendra, I'll let you have the last word.
I think really just go out and do it. I mean, I think one of the mistakes people make is they try to go out and find investors first. Look at Kendra. She went door to door. Her back was against the wall. Damon John, one of our fellow sharks, calls it the power of broke. I got fired from my job and I was sleeping on the floor, 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment. I had no choice. And if you look at some of the biggest and best businesses, they were started when people really, their backs were against the wall and they had no capital. And so rather than looking for capital, I would say if you can get to Dallas, you can get to Austin, you can get somewhere in Texas, or if you're already here, just go for it. Create that product or service that you can sell, that you can do on your own. Start small like Kendra did, like I did, and build it just one step at a time. And then you'll see you have so many resources available to you that you can grow it from there. And if you're growing so quickly, you need funding, that's when the funding will find you.
Kendra, how do I find my Kendra Scott?
No, I'm telling you right now, I could not agree more with Mark. He was spot on. I think, I started out of my extra bedroom with $500. And I remember very early on, I had to go get a bank loan and I put everything I owned up for collateral, right? Like I don't even have that much collateral, but whatever I had, I put on there. And I remember thinking, I would say, well, how do I find these angels? People said, you're going to need an angel. And I said, well, yeah, you're not kidding. I need an angel. I need a lot more than an angel now. I need to be able to pay my rent. But what was so amazing to me is I had a great mentor. And he said, Kendra, don't worry about getting investors right now. Focus on building an amazing business. And when you build it, they will come. And that was the best advice I could have ever had. It was hard. I mean, I had to be very gritty, right? And get in there and just like make it work with, tape and glue and whatever I had around me and a very limited resources. But if you build it, they will come. And you have to be able to do something where you're filling a void in the market. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to really take your authentic self and put yourself out there too. But you can't put yourself out there and ask for an investor until you have a business that truly they can see has the legs to do something. So focus on building something good, great, and be scrappy. It's okay to be scrappy. Not everybody starts with $1 million in the bank. I started with 500. Mark was sleeping on the floor. I lived on $200 a week at one point as a single mom. So I know it isn't always easy, but when the time is right, you've put that sweat equity into your business, then that's when the real equity can come. And that's when the excitement is of bringing people that see what you're doing. They'll start to pay attention, I promise. And you're going to start getting those phones ringing.
100%.
Really inspiring advice for the South by Southwest community. I want to take a moment to thank Mark Cuban and Kendra Scott, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's great to talk to you, Steph, and great to talk to you, Kendra. Stephanie, I got way back. So it's great to talk to you again.
Well, I like to call Mark the Papa Shark. So good to see you again. I was baby shark.
All right, guys, I got to blaze. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Take care,
Mark.
Guys.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.